Hello and welcome to the Webseries Digest. I'm Sara, and this is episode 7, Filming. My guests today are...
Hi, I'm Nicole. I made the Blair Goddess Project, and I also did cinematography for Hamlet the Dame, and I also was the co-creator of the best web series of all time, Eddy Rex.
Hi, my name's Aubrey Carey, and I created A Document of Madness and The Better Strangers.
Yay. Yeah, welcome guys. Like I said, today we're going to talk about filming.
Thanks for having me.
Everyone's favorite part.
Oh.
The best part.
Of making web series.
Oh my god. Although, to be honest, I would say the same thing about writing, and I would say the same thing about transmedia. So, like, a lot of parts I hate. Why do I make web series?
That's a universal thing. It's very universal to not like the web series you're working on while you're working on it.
It's like, I keep doing this, but do I like it? Who knows?
I start this podcast as a way for new web series creators to know how to make web series, but in the end, we actually find that Nicole learns she doesn't like making web series.
I do, theoretically.
Okay.
There's like good moments of every part.
Yeah, and then there's terrible parts of every part, so it balances out.
That's true, and we're here to talk you through it.
Woohoo.
Fun. All right, so I want to start with talking a little bit about kind of the differences between filming a web series versus filming like a short film, because I'm kind of assuming, which we have talked about, I think, in other podcasts, that if you're making a web series, you've probably at least made a short film before. Aubrey, did you make anything before you made A Document of Madness?
No. And that is very funny, because like I am still such an amateur, and I wasn't supposed to direct or film or write, or no, I was supposed to write, but I wasn't supposed to film, direct A Document of Madness or The Better Strangers, but someone dropped out, and I had to sort of take over. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, it's like I think there's probably I imagine making a short film must be a little bit harder because you don't have one real angle that you have to go from. But I don't know. I mean, I think there's I do think making a web series is also very hard. But I feel like if you've made a short film, you must have an idea of what you want to do, which is good.
Right.
Yeah.
We talked about this a little bit on the other episode that we did, just like whether you should...
It would be episode 1.
Yeah, episode 1.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry,
I'm doing these completely out of order. Yeah.
We talked about it a little bit in episode 1, just like whether you should try making a short film before you jump straight into a web series. Because there are a lot of people, and it works out for a lot of people. I know like several of the people who are on this podcast had not made anything before they made their web series, and it worked out. So
yeah.
But we're just trying to give people a good little base. I think if you're going to do a vlog series, it's not necessary to have done a short film before. Because the main thing you get out of it is the technical aspect. Because the story aspect is going to be completely different if you're writing for a vlog series or if you're writing for a narrative series. And even if you're writing for a narrative series, the writing is going to be totally different than writing for a short film just because of the nature of the scope is totally different. But
the length is also longer, and it's going to take longer to film.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Most of our short films, like a short film that's like, I'd probably say, like, for every 10 minutes, you need like a day of filming.
Although if you do a 10-minute short film, that's going to take way longer than like a 10-minute episode of a web series.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because everything is tighter and like all the shots are more intricate, usually. But, yeah, so it's sort of the difference between a vlog style and a narrative style, but also, I mean, Blair wasn't vlog style, and I've done short films, and short films are way harder. Like, they don't have to be. I think the one that I did was way harder just because we made it more complicated than it needed to be, but
you're right. I mean, there are more intricate shots, and you do have to worry about like different points of views, and it's not as easy as you just have a camera and everyone just talks to it.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So you're right, yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. So basically kind of the thing I just want to say about, I mean, filming a web series is going to take longer than filming a short film. Like, no matter how you slice it or dice it.
Yeah.
It's going
Unless
to.
it's Eddy Rex, which we did in 4 days.
That's amazing. That's incredible.
That was like the fastest we've ever done anything in our lives.
Oh my God.
That felt very much to me like a short film filming when we did Eddy Rex. But that's also because Tajwash and Hamlet took weeks to film.
But I mean, Eddy Rex is 25 minutes long total. So
it's a short film. It's a short film. Using the Oscars, the Academy of Motion of Arts and Sciences, or whatever the Academy is called, a short film is defined as something that's under 40 minutes long.
But it's still segmented, so it's still a web series.
Yeah, it's a web series but according to their definition, it's like a short film because it's under 40 minutes. Which means that all other web series...
Which means we can submit Eddy Rex for the Oscars?
Yeah!
Get out here! This is the best news I've had all day.
Yeah.
No.
It is, I know I mentioned this in episode 1, but it's ridiculously easy to get a short film to the Oscars. There's there's a ton. Basically, it's the criteria
probably to submit, but it's not ridiculously easy to get nominated.
No, but like the criteria to submit is like you have to either be in some of the there's a ton of film festivals, and you got to either like be in it or win a certain prize, or you have to have your film in a theater in Los Angeles.
Oh,
yeah,
that's not that bad.
No,
so we need to start
hard
submitting
work,
to these film festivals, clearly.
Yeah, come on, guys. I want to see Eddy Rex.
I want to see Eddy Rex win some awards. We were supposed to talk about filming, and now we're just talking about the Oscars and Eddy Rex, so...
Okay, there's some talk in here, some in this outline, both because Aubrey contributed to the outline that I have in front of me. Scheduling, we're going to talk... we have talked
Everyone's favorite.
We will have talked about it in pre-production, because we're filming these out of order.
Oh, yeah.
So, basically, just kind of a reminder, because I'm sure we'll talk about this in that episode, is that it's okay to go off schedule. You're going to go off schedule.
Yep.
It's okay.
Everyone...
You're going to have actors drop out. You're going to have filming locations no longer be available. There's a whole episode devoted to actors.
Oh, good. So we're not even going to go into that.
Yeah, we're not going to go into actors. So I think let's just start with kind of talking about what sort of equipment is needed for filming.
Oh, man.
Is needed, or what sort did we use? Because I think is needed. You could just... If you've got a little mic and a camera, you can make it work.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head my equipment, which is... Yeah. I should probably know that. But yeah, I think even iPhones nowadays, I filmed a lot of A Document of Madness on my iPhone. You gotta, that's easy to do.
You make it work.
You make it work. All you need is something that records video. And then if you have a mic, that would be better. Because I've realized over time that people gravitate towards better quality, and not really usually better story. It's more of if you have clear video and everyone sounds okay, people will usually gravitate towards it more.
It's true. Yeah, I've seen mediocre web series that I'm not thinking of a specific one when I say this, that have really good film quality, and they get popular just because people are like, it looks pretty.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I fall into that all the time, and that's when after we filmed A Document of Madness, I definitely learned a lot, and one of the biggest things was I need to figure out how to use my camera, and I need to get a boom mic. Because I was I'm so done. I just watching it, I was it's so dark, and nobody sounds really, the audio's weird, and
I think audio is more important than people, because people don't realize when they're filming, they're like, oh, I filmed this on my iPhone and it looks good. It looks good. It doesn't sound good.
Yeah.
Get a mic. Please get a mic. They're not that expensive. Just invest in a mic.
Definitely. And lighting, super important, which you don't think about during the time, because you can see, but it doesn't mean your audience is going to see it. And
Tajwash is so yellow.
That's the running joke of Tajwash, is that everything is yellow,
and it's because of the lighting we had in the dorm.
Dorm lighting can screw you over. Definitely.
It's weird because for Blair Goddess Project, I put all this effort into the lighting, and it turned out terrible. The lighting for Blair Goddess Project is horrendous. I'm sorry to anyone listening to this. It's really bad, and it's just because my apartment had terrible lighting, and that's where we were filming most of the stuff. But for Hamlet, everything looked beautiful. I just messed with the settings on Shannon's camera. We didn't even have lights most of the time, and it all looked great. So I'm like, how is this fair?
Yeah, I mean, what I've discovered is I know, like, I'm the kind of person who's very impulsive, and I'll just be like, okay, let's start filming now. But if you actually, like, do test shots and, like, actually see what works better and see what settings are the best for you. Because, and really, like, I would, before I started filming, I would always set up the equipment, and then I would just have it in the angle that I wanted it to be, and I would sort of move people around to make sure that everything fit before I started to film. And that's, like, something that I never did for A Document of Madness. But for The Better Strangers, I really wanted to make sure, like, the lighting was going to be okay and everyone could be seen at all times, because sometimes the angle would be weird. So, and, like, sometimes people would knock into the camera because we had a really bad, whatever it's called. Like, the thing, tripod.
Tripod.
Yeah. I'm a filmmaker.
It's all good.
We would have a really bad tripod, so people would knock into it, and, like, the whole angle would change. And that was now we had, like, a clear box, like, you could not walk within 2 feet of the camera, and, like, all this stuff.
I think a good way to go about doing that is what I always used to do, because pretty much, I mean, if you're doing a web series like this, your actors probably don't know their lines ahead of time, as far as my experience. They kind of, like, maybe have read the script before they show up on set, and then they're learning it right then. So what we would do is I would have them read it once, just, like, read through it, and then practice read through it, and we would try to block it if there was movement. A lot of times there wasn't, because sometimes they're just sitting there, but if there is movement, you read it and try to block it, and then you see, like, where the problems are going to come up with. Oh, now you're suddenly standing in front of the light, or now you're, going to knock over the tripod or whatever.
Yeah.
And then film it, because, yeah, I mean, they have to learn the lines anyways, so you might as well be practicing all that other stuff while you're doing it and setting up your shot and all that.
I actually had a good experience with, like, the people who I worked with could memorize pretty fast. And so they came in usually knowing their stuff. I never knew my lines, which was awful. And so the whole filming before it was just sort of chaotic, because we'd figure out, like, costumes, and I would have read the script beforehand, and I would come in and I would tell everyone what I already knew they needed to work on for this scene. And the one thing about my actors is that nobody knew the given circumstances or what their character was actually going through at that point, because we filmed out of order and they didn't really, like, keep a list. So I would have to, like, tell them exactly what's going on, and then we would sort of, like, start getting into the scene, and everyone would start, like, getting not memorized, but getting, like, really prepared. And so we would call what you just described, we would call that a take 0, and I'd usually record that. And then, because as I was fixing things, and then we would start, as you said. But yeah, I mean, it's so funny. Like, each filming that you do is a different animal. Like, each web series is a completely different animal.
Yeah, I got into kind of a groove at least with Blair, just because it was like I pretty much had 3 characters in that show, so it was the same. It would be like me, Megan, Jen, and then whoever was Alex that day, and we would just be in my apartment filming. So they kind of got used to each other, but yeah, you have a lot of characters, so I'm not really sure how you balance all of that.
That I went insane. It was interesting, because you had, and that's why sometimes we were talking about before whether a certain character was going to pop up in The Better Strangers, and that's why you don't usually see, like, Aubrey. She was played by Michelle. Michelle's such a lovely person, and I had no issues with her. It was one of those things with, I have so many characters, and I don't feel like that plot line, we've already seen so much of her that we don't need to see anymore. So Aubrey, you don't get to see as much, which is a shame, because she's such a good character. But you just don't get to see as much of her because there's so many characters. Because she was already
in Document of Madness so much.
Yeah.
Sarah,
her story's already been told.
Audrey was Horatio in Document of Madness.
Oh,
and
yeah,
she
I'm sorry.
transferred over
Yes.
to...
Gotcha.
Did you watch Document of Madness,
I've seen Document of Madness, yeah.
Yeah.
She was Audrey Horatio, and they called her Horatio, and then when they switched over into Better Strangers, they called her Audrey.
Yeah.
Okay.
A nice little name change there.
Yeah, everybody's name changed in the second one except for yours. You just got a second name.
Yeah. And it was funny because when we, I won't talk too much about the writing, but it was known what their characters would end up being for the second season while filming A Document of Madness. So there was, like, it's always nice to put in little Easter eggs and try to do that.
Yeah, like I remember in the Q&A video, they were all saying their middle names, and Jules was like, her middle name is Celia. Anyway, that's off topic, but...
Yeah. Okay, so we were talking about, like, setting up shots. Like... I mean, I don't really know much about the tech behind filming. I've held the camera a few times. I'm not very good at it. I've done a lot of sound. I'm okay at that. I'm not the tech. Shannon generally does all of that.
Except on Hamlet, because Shannon was on camera all the time, and then I did it.
Yeah, so then you did it. So I guess, Nicole, if maybe you could talk a little bit about, like, cinematography.
Okay. Yeah.
Like maybe vlog style cinematography versus traditional cinematography.
So I think talking about the vlog style, the most important thing, because people will be like, oh, it's supposed to look realistic, but I think the most important thing is it still has to be watchable. So like, yes, you want it to look realistic, but it can have unrealistically good lighting. It can have like smoother handheld than a person would actually have, stuff like that, because you still want people to watch it.
And not throw up.
Yeah, exactly. I am the world's biggest tripod enthusiast. I was like so nervous about doing episodes of Hamlet handheld because I've seen handheld go badly so many times, and it makes me nervous every time. But, I mean, I think it turned out okay. Some of the episodes were a little shaky, and I was like, but it was me doing it, so I had no one else to blame but myself. But, yeah, I would advocate for people who are new, if you're thinking about doing handheld, maybe don't. Maybe do a tripod first, and then try handheld.
Unless you have a crew member who knows what they're doing.
Yeah. I think people think, oh, you know, if I film little videos of my friends, because one of the things we talked about in the first episode was that Shannon and I both used to film little videos of our friends in high school. Aww. And if you do that, obviously, you're just, like, filming, not paying attention. But the people who are going to watch that is you and your friends. When you're putting something on the internet, you want to, like, think about it a little bit more of how it's going to look. So my biggest thing is, like, use a tripod until you feel really, really comfortable with handheld, because it turns out messy a lot and it's shaky. Anyway, that's my little soapbox. But for non-vlog style, you can do whatever you want because it doesn't matter. And that's where you can get more creative with, like, film angles and stuff. And that just goes back to depending on how much you know about film. Like, with Blair, I kind of got lazy by the end of shooting because we were just running out of time. So you can tell which ones I filmed towards the beginning and which ones I filmed towards the end, because the ones I filmed at the beginning are, like, have a lot more angles and are prettier. But, like, I remember we did the one of the job interview where Blair's interviewing Zoe is, like, the only one where we actually did over-the-shoulder shots and, like, you know, did it correctly, but that's a different story. So, I don't know where I'm going with this. I think cinematography is important. I think it adds to a web series, but I also think that a lot of people don't even notice. Like, a lot of people who watch these web series are not film people, and they don't notice it. I think
they might go, "Oh, that looks really weird."
Yeah,
because like you said, there might be like
yeah, if the lighting is terrible, they're gonna notice.
Yeah.
I'm thinking more like, you know, like if you're used to, like, seeing conversations with, like, going between, like, over the shoulder shots and like, close-ups and stuff like that. You know, just all those, like, those little, like, switches that, like, people don't think about, so that if you're just watching a conversation between two people and it's the same shot the whole way through, someone might be like,
you don't
like, this
notice
feels
that.
Weird.
Yeah. The whole thing about shooting and also editing, but we're not talking about editing, is people don't know they notice it, but they do notice it. You know, if you're on a non-vlog series and you have one continuous shot through the whole thing, people aren't going to know they noticed, but they're going to notice. They're going to be like, this feels really long, or whatever.
Yeah, it's just going to be like, something's missing.
But then again, just changing shots for the sake of changing shots also can come out kind of messy. I remember we did one episode where I filmed it from 2 different angles, and when I was editing, the angles just weren't different enough, and I was like, I can't switch between these. I have to just stick with the one angle, and it's gonna have to be fine, because it's jarring if you just switch for the sake of switching. So that is something also to be careful of. I would say if you are listening to this and you are gonna make a non-vlog style show,
Godspeed.
Watch some videos about, just like basic shots, over the shoulder, wide shot, narrow shot, all that stuff. Like, go on YouTube or go on whatever website you can find that will explain that stuff to you if you're not familiar with film. Just be a little bit familiar with, the 180 rule and stuff like that. If you don't know any of that stuff, just give yourself a crash course before you go into trying to do different angles and stuff. Because what I see happening sometimes, and again, I'm not, like, trying to call out any specific person, so I hope no one's listening to this like, oh my god, she's talking about me. I'm not. But I do see sometimes where, like, people are like, oh, I want to have different angles, so they just move the camera around. But it's like, why did you do it from that angle? You just moved it just for the sake of moving it. That's also not good, so... But I will say the benefit of having two different angles, which vlog style misses out on, although vlog style can have jump cuts, is if one take is better on one part and one take is better on another part, you actually can use the best part of both takes and not just have to stick with one shot because it was all on that same clip without cutting, if that makes sense.
Let's talk about takes. You want two good takes. Two good takes.
I have gotten into editing and been like, man, I wish I had just done another one because both of these have one little thing that I don't like, or,
Yeah, and especially with vlog style. Because with vlog style, since the shots are so long, if someone messes up, you can't cut it and, like, insert another section.
Jump cut,
You either have to jump cut it, or you have to, or you have to, sometimes you just have to refilm. Because you just, there's too big of a problem, and you don't have another take, and you can't fix it because it's a 3-minute long monologue or dialogue.
I will be devil's advocate to this, actually. Okay. Because while it is a great idea, and I will admit we filmed over 100 videos, 100 episodes for The Better Strangers, and now it's only going to be 100 because of stuff like this. There have been scenes like I think our most famous episode has been Blizzard, which is episode 47. That was only one good take. And and I will say there's something about, like, the magic of sometimes if you see that take and you just know in your heart, like, you know what, this is it, and the actors are getting, like, way too wild and you can't do anything else, and, like, nobody's gonna, like, you just know you can't do another take. I would say watch it.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, watch it.
Watch it. And then see it. And if worse comes to worse, I never used to let actors watch themselves, like, because that just gets in their heads and no one's good after that. But I would do something if you watch it and you're like, oh, it still isn't good, then make the actors watch it, because the minute they start watching something and they realize they're not good, that's when they start to actually do a little bit better. But if you have to, there's a little bit. I would say there's you kind of have to go back and forth on letting actors watch their own takes. Because that's when they start getting...
Because then they want to watch it every time, opinions. And you're like, I don't have time for this.
Yeah. And I think sometimes, and I'm an actor myself, so it goes back and forth, but sometimes when people start getting opinions on set, it's not good.
God,
like,
no.
It's because sometimes the creator actually knows what they're doing. And you just have to, like, have blind faith that the person's going to make you look good, which they will. And you have to believe when you have... like a take that maybe you thought, oh, wow, that went really well, and the person says, hey, we got to do that again. There's a reason why they want to do that again, and there's a reason why they want a safety take, like we just talked about. So there's
To piggyback on that, I have had actors before say, can we just do one more, even though I thought the last one was good, and I would say, go ahead and do it. Like, if they think there's something that they can do better in another take, just go ahead and do another take, because there's probably something that they... And if they do, like, 4 takes and they're like, I'm still not happy with it, at some point you're like, okay, it's fine, though, we're gonna move on. But... Yeah, if anyone is like, I think we should just do one more, I think it's always safe to do one more. And if you do the thing where you have your one golden one, like you said, watch it. Because the worst thing that could happen is you think it was beautiful, and then for some reason something happened with the light or something, something that you didn't realize happened while you were watching it. And then you go back and you're editing and you're like, oh my God, our perfect take got ruined because of this one thing.
Yeah, like someone walked through in the background and you didn't notice while filming.
Or this is something I was literally just talking to Shauna about yesterday. You see yourself in a reflection of a window in the back.
Oh my gosh, or a shadow?
Yes.
Oh.
I had to do so many, oh my God. Okay, so this is actually obnoxious. The way that my apartment was laid out when we were filming the Alex's house scenes for Blair Goddess Project, it was, I keep referencing this. I don't actually know if you've watched this show, Aubrey. But
I've started to watch it, actually.
Okay. Yay.
Well, and you guys will be amazed. I've done my homework.
Okay, good. So anyway, so in the Alex's house parts, there were times, because I was standing behind the camera and the lights were right next to me and the shadows were really difficult. So if I moved, sometimes my shadow would like go across Alex's legs or something. Oh. One of the episodes I actually, and luckily I'm good at After Effects, or decent at After Effects, I won't say good, but there was one part where I think it was Amanda was being Alex, and I moved, and my shadow totally went across her legs, but she was sitting so still that I like was able to take, because I didn't notice until editing, I was able to take like another part of her legs and just like crop her legs over top of it so that the part with the shadow didn't work. That was like one of my, that's back incredible. To editing though. The editing is my favorite. But anyway.
Yeah, we've already recorded that episode.
I'm not gonna say fix it in post because that's terrible. Don't do that. But if you have to, things happen.
Unless you really know what you're doing in post, or you have someone who really knows what they're doing in post.
No, because I really know what I'm doing, and I'm telling you, don't do that to your editor.
Okay, listen to Nicole. That's why I brought her here.
Okay. Always do 2 good takes if you can. You can't always do it, but if you can.
And we talked about this in editing a little bit, but script supervisor notes. Take them. Your editor will thank you.
Yeah.
Even if you're... example, Sarah, for the listeners at home.
So script supervisor notes are basically, there's generally someone on set and like a professional production, someone just has this job where they take notes on every single take and they write down like scene it's from, what shot was done, what was good about it, what was bad about it.
I would kill for someone to do that for my... I never had that. That's amazing.
Yeah,
though.
and then then you have these notes.
That's really good.
And you can hand them to the editor, and the editor automatically knows what takes to not use, what takes to use.
Yeah, even if the editor is future you, which it usually
exactly. is. But then future you will remember, okay, this first take, Aubrey flubbed the line.
Good job, Aubrey.
Thank you.
And so I can't use that one. So and it's actually also
or like Nicole flubbed the... No, I have a running joke because I have acted in my shows like a minuscule amount. My biggest acting was in Hamlet, and I was a minor character. But anytime Casey, who played Rachel, and I were in the same shot, it was just like the curse. And it's my curse. I'm the one, but I wasn't always the one that messed up. But if I was in the shot, one of us would mess up. It was just like this eternal thing.
Yeah.
So.
Oh my God.
But yeah, script supervisor notes. Do them.
Yeah, that's really cool if you have someone because here's the thing. In a perfect world, we would all have an audio person and a lighting person, but usually it's just you, like, doing everything, or maybe one other person.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, like, there are so many things that I've learned now that I did not do for The Better Strangers, and there are, like, so many things that you are going to not do, and you're going to forget, and it's gonna be okay. You'll figure it out.
It all works
out. Like, no matter what, you'll figure it out, and it will be okay. And everyone kind of understands when they watch a web series if something isn't, like, if the lighting's off for one scene, like, people get it.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't have to be professional quality.
And I did want to say, when we were talking about professional quality versus good content, even though you will probably get more viewers if you have professional quality and bad content, don't do that. Yeah. Prioritize your content, please, because that's, like, at the end of the day, do you want a bunch of people to watch it and no one to really care about it, or do you want, like, I mean, you obviously would love for a bunch of people to watch it and care about it, but if 3 people are watching it and they love it because your content is so well written and good and well acted, then they're gonna forgive you for bad lighting. I mean, don't have bad lighting, it's distracting, but if you have to, don't sacrifice your content for nice tech. I'm gonna throw some people under the bus who are not web series people, and I'm not gonna name their names. It's some people we knew in college, but they're never gonna listen to this. I want to piggyback
on that, because there were so many times when filming The Better Strangers, I will be the first one to say that filming The Better Strangers was hell. But you have to make something you love. You really do. Because if you don't love it, then the audience isn't going to love it.
Yep, and that's what we keep going back to.
Yeah, and if you can't, like, there's something about making something, and then there will be times where you're kind of like, why am I making this? And you got to go back to that reason why you love what you're doing. And that's really important to be in, like, connection with throughout all of this, because there will be people... there will be times and there will be people who make it very hard for you.
Test your patience a lot.
It will test it, and then you will test your own patience because you'll forget to do things. Because
Shannon can tell you how many times I forgot to record the audio while we were.
Oh, it's like it's insane, because you're usually doing this by yourself, or if you're lucky with one other person, and it does get stressful. It does get a little bit crazy, but the making a web series, it's honestly, it's very rewarding.
It is.
And it's inspiring to actually sit down and actually do something. Like, if you've created something, that's amazing. You've created something.
And it's rewarding. I want to emphasize this again, even though we keep saying it. It's rewarding when you watch it, even before anyone has seen it. Like, yes, you want people to watch it. Yes, you want people to make gift sets of it. Yes, all that stuff is fun. But it has to be rewarding when you're watching it yourself. Like, if you're watching your episode and going, God, I can't wait to show this to people, you did it. Like, you're doing a good job because you like it. So, yeah.
There's something better than that. There's something better than watching something after you've edited it, and you're like, oh, this is going to be good. Like, just like you're feeling, like I had edited Blizzard back in July, and it was coming out in, like, December.
And you were like, I'm so ready for people to see this.
I was like, holy crap. Because that was the episode that I didn't expect. I didn't expect anything from it. And then, sometimes you just wander across it and you're like, oh, this is like, and it makes you feel good because you've made something that you're like, oh, okay, this makes sense now. Like, yes, okay, cool. Like, you can make a good episode, and you can do that. It's good. Yeah. It's a good feeling to have.
I think that's a good way to segue into, because I know you have a lot more of this than I think I have had on any of my shows. Talk about all the improv that goes on your set.
Oh, geez. Yes. The improv is fun. I was obsessed, and I still kind of love the Candle Wasters, who have created my favorite web series ever, Nothing Much to Do. And they had mentioned in some, I think, article or Tumblr-esque, that they would always let their actors improv the entire episode at the end of filming. And I thought that was an inspiring idea. And I had said that at the table read. I remember saying to everyone, I was thinking that we're going to do our last take will always be improv. And I just raise your hand if you can improv. And everyone raised their hand. That was a lie. Not that many people can improv.
Yeah.
And that's totally fine, because I'm not that good at improv. What you do is you start to realize who's good at it and who isn't as good at it. And that wasn't always the case. We didn't always do a final take improv. But you can... usually people didn't know their lines. So... or they didn't know them as well, or they would get inspired in a moment and they would start to improv. Blake, who plays Orlando, is very good at improv.
Yeah.
Nick, who plays Duke, is insane at improv. Like, everything you think is funny about Duke, that's just Nick talking. And so I would know the two of them were very good. And I also was running out of time because I wrote The Better Strangers in 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Wow. That's crazy.
I was insane. I was not prepared. And I didn't have an outline either when I was writing it. So I would I would just give random episodes like, okay, we're just going to improv here. Yeah. And sometimes that worked out really well. Sometimes it didn't. I think you just have to have an eye for, is it funny because I know these people, or is it funny in general? That's a huge thing.
I think part of that is you could show it to somebody who doesn't know the people and ask them if they think it's funny. That goes back to editing. But I think... Okay, just wondering, actually, while we're on this, you don't have to include this part, but Nick, what is Nick's pronouns in real life?
Oh, she, her.
Okay, cool. Because on the show, she's they, and I didn't know if... Okay. Anyway, no, yeah, she and Blake are hilarious when they're in scenes together, but...
They're good friends in real life, and they, that was just, like, I have, like, hours. I have 45 minutes of them improving. It's insane.
Yeah, actually, Megan, who's Blair, you probably know that already, or people probably know that already. She is Blair. Like, I was going to say, while you're filming, you might end up changing your writing a little bit, because I originally wrote Blair very different than how she turned out to be, and she turned out much better than how I wrote her, because she was very, like, kind of robotic almost, because I was thinking she's, like, stiff, she doesn't understand humans, whatever, but then when Megan came in, she was just so sarcastic and mean all the time that I was like, this is way funnier. I mean, she was mean in the original, but it was like she was mean because she was like, you insolent mortals or whatever all the time, but no, she came in and she's just like, I think Megan phrased it one time, she was like, she's not mean for the sake of being mean, she's just really casually mean. She's just like really, she doesn't even, I don't think, realize she's being mean. She's not angry, she just says mean stuff just as part of her vernacular. But yeah, so if you have an actor who comes in with a different take on the character that you had planned and it works, run with it. Like, because if you really try to force them back into the original character that you have, it's just not going to work out for you. And if it's really, really important that the character is a certain way, then yeah, fight for those things, because, you know, your actor should be able to act and do it how you want. But at the same time, I think if you have a good actor and they see something in the character that you didn't and they start doing it, run with it. Like,
definitely. Definitely. And that's also happened to me a couple of times. A lot of my characters sort of changed with the people's personalities who played them.
Yeah, exactly.
And, like, Shannon writes dialogue, and then the way that I delivered them as Jamie was all over the place, because I don't talk right.
Well, and also Shannon writes very eloquently, and people don't talk like that.
Oh my god.
Some of the stuff that she wrote.
Oh my god.
What?
Shannon is George Lucas.
Shannon is George Lucas.
And I'm Steven Spielberg.
Oh my god. No, okay, because we were talking about this a little bit in the Q&A that we did with Jules, but, like, Shannon writes things the way that she wants people to talk, and it works for Sherlock Holmes and it works for Hamlet, but it doesn't work for everybody. So some of the characters, like, if your actor tells you, I would have actors tell me all the time, they'd be like, Nicole, this sentence does not make sense when I say it out loud, and I was like, then reword it, it's fine. Like, don't be attached to your writing. If there's a joke that you worded a certain way because you really wanted it worded that way, fight for that. But don't fight for everything. Like, if somebody says it slightly differently than how you wrote it and it sounds fine, just go
Someone
with it.
adds in words and rearranges the entire sentence. Just remember that she's your roommate and you love her and she pays some of the rent. And pick your battles.
I think that's true. You gotta pick your battles.
That's not inspired by personal experience.
No.
Just a totally hypothetical example.
Yeah. Yeah. You know.
Well, I want to piggyback on that, because that's something that was huge in The Better Strangers. Was I wrote a lot of things in different ways, and sometimes the characters got different, and no one really changed the dialogue. Sometimes people would start putting in dialogue that just didn't even exist at some points, but that was fine. It did change some of the characters, but it was fine. But I think the one thing was, when it comes to picking your battles, you will be with a group of people, and there's always conflict with a group of people, and there's always conflict, especially with a creative group of people. But I think you have to decide how you want your experience to be. because do you want to walk away making my experience was I wanted to walk away making the best web series I possibly could. So if when things got crazy and there was like egos involved, which had to do with compromise, really, because I think sometimes you can compromise on the little things, but when you get to a big thing, like an actor wants to change the main focus of an entire episode, or an actor calls you and says, hey, I want you to, in post-production, change the basis of my character, you have to really put your foot down at some points, and you have to really... You can say no. Like, you are the creator.
Yes.
You can say no, and you should say no. And people shouldn't get their way all the time. And
I
don't
totally
want this
agree
to seem,
with that, yeah.
I don't want this to seem too ranty or I'm bitter or cynical about something, even though I am a bit bitter. I am a bitter person.
Just a little bit.
I do think it's really important that if I could go back and tell myself anything, is that people will have agendas and opinions that have to do mostly on them and not the story. And you are the one who is actually, you have created the story. You've created the story for a reason. And it's okay if somebody's trying to change the story, you can be like, no, it has to be this way.
Oh, yeah.
And
at
if
the
they
end
have an
of the
issue with
day,
that, then they have an issue with that. And I'm not saying, I think that's just, it reminded me of that, which I think is really important
At
to
the
say.
end of the day, you're still the director. It's still your show. If somebody's
Exactly.
going off of what you want for your vision, don't let them. Like,
And if you're not directing and, like, say you wrote, but you turned it over to someone else to direct, like, don't be afraid to also go to the director and be like, hey, when I wrote this, I meant it like this. If you're on set.
Yeah. It
I'm
depends,
assuming...
because sometimes...
Yeah.
Usually, I think with these sorts of situations, the writer is the director. But if you do have people helping you write, if you have, like, a team of writers, I know that some web series have that, then, that's going to be a whole different collaboration. But I didn't have a team. It was just me. So
I
mean, at the end of the day, like, for example, when we were doing Hamlet, I was helping a lot with Hamlet, and I was a big part of it. But, like, it was Shannon's show. So sometimes she'd be like, you know what? No, we're doing it like this, and that's the end of it. So we would just do it like that because, you have to put your foot down at the end.
You do.
Because don't let people tell you what your characters are doing or what. I'm just saying be open to suggestions. But, if the suggestion doesn't work with your vision, turn it down.
And there's going to be people on set who are like, no, it's fine. The lighting's fine. We're just going to go. And if you're like, no, it's not. Give me 5 minutes to make it the way I want it to be. Like, you gotta be able to do that. You can't.
You gotta fight.
Yeah, because if someone's gonna be so ornery and impatient and stuff, they're gonna do that no matter what. So you're just gonna have to put up with it and put the interests of your show first.
Yeah, and I think that brings me to another thing is I had this kind of goes into the conflict resolution part, which I became really good at putting out fires after the Better Strangers because I would have so many chaotic things happening. But I think a really good example is I don't think this is common for everyone, but sometimes you get a certain person on set who can just make filming a nightmare. And I think when you're in there, you have to kind of like build your own bubble. And you got to figure it out and how you can make it good for you and how you can get that person to just sort of do their work and get them out of there fast. Because once you start getting into filming and you start working with different personalities, you have to be as sort of like, you have to try so many different tactics. You have to be charming and polite and kind to everyone to sort of kind of get them to do the thing that you want them to do. But then at the same time, you have to, and it's fun. Like filming, I'm talking about it like this. It's this horrible thing. Filming is super fun, but at the same time, like if somebody's giving you crap and somebody is not doing their job, you can also fire them. You can fire them, but if you're too far into it, you can rearrange things. Nothing is ever solid. You can change things up.
Exactly.
And you're not alone. Like you can have people around you who can be like, yeah, this person's like not doing their job, and you're not wrong.
I will say there's a reason why the character Alex in my show was any actor, because I was like, I had two actors I trusted, and that was Megan and Jen, and then I had a bunch of people who were like, yeah, I'll be in a show, and I was like, I don't know how this is going to work out. So I was like, I need my third character to, I mean, not everybody could do that because not everybody's in a world where your third character can just have whatever human face they want. But, yeah, you can make characters bigger or smaller depending on if that person is a nightmare. And if that person is enough of a nightmare that they're just really making everything terrible, recast them. Like, and it happens and it sucks, and we've all seen good web series. I'll throw out 12th grade as an example because I know Jules had to recast people part way through, and it didn't ruin the show. Like, it's still a great show that a lot of people love, and it didn't ruin it to have to switch an actor. I know you guys had to switch out Wendy.
We know switch out our Wendy. Yeah.
But it just happens that sometimes people get written into smaller roles or bigger roles or whatever, depending on.
And there's going to be an episode of this web series that is devoted entirely to actors.
There you go.
And how to deal with them.
Into actors.
We'll move on from actors. Back to
actors are a crucial part of filming. I will say that actors are a crucial part of filming because it's who's on set with you.
Exactly.
Because that's like a big part of it all. Anyway, let's move on.
I was gonna say this is a really like totally different subject and very technical, but I just want to throw it out there. I would recommend, if you're doing a mic, this is so random, but it's just an advice. For Blair, we had a boom mic, and it kind of rattled a little bit, and so sometimes you hear it rattling, and it drove me crazy, and I thought, like, when you're on a film, you have a boom mic, this is what's professional, and yeah, it rattled all the time. And then for Hamlet and Eddy Rex, we just used like a mic that Shannon has that's not a boom that you just hold up. And it worked beautifully and it was perfect. So I'm like, the better equipment is not always better. Test it out. Make sure it doesn't do anything weird like rattle while you're trying to film. Don't just go for a fancy camera because it's fancy or a fancy mic because it's fancy. Not that my mic was fancy, but I'm just saying, like, don't just go for something because you think that's what you're going to need. Sometimes less is more and you don't actually need as much as you think you're
and also remember that, because we talked about this, I think, a little bit in editing, is that, like, on a professional set, all the actors are mic'd.
Yes.
So they're already going to get like better sound quality just from that. And you're not going to have that kind of money. Like, I can guarantee, like, maybe if you're very lucky, you'll be able to mic like one or two actors.
Yeah,
like,
I know when they did Classic Alice, they had a couple of mics, but they only had a couple of characters, and they had a Kickstarter and stuff.
I mean, if you have the resources, use them, obviously. But, like, we never were able to mic anyone. So we just had the one, like, it's just a little, like, surface mic, I'd almost say, and we just plop it in the middle of the scene if we could.
It happens.
Hide it underneath whatever, and then just be like, okay, so we're just gonna have to record off of that.
No matter what, if you get a little like Zoom mic or something, it's gonna sound better than your camera audio. Like, and as long as it sounds better than your camera audio, you're already a step in the right direction.
Yeah, for sure. And then it also leads to fun times when, like, someone's lying on the floor out of the shot holding the mic up.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
You don't get that with the camera or with lighting.
This, I think, actually made it into my bloopers, but one of my friends from college, her name's Sandra, she was Alex a couple of times, but mostly she was on set a lot holding the boom. And so one of the shots, she was in the shot, and I was like, oh, I need to grab the boom. I'm just so used to you holding it, and now you're in the shot. But, yeah, you get stuff like that. And then you get people who are weirdly attached to doing the sound. Like, our Gil from Hamlet, who was also Stephen Inks, David, Sarah's friend David, now all of our friend David, he got so intense about the sound. Like, he was so proud of the way that he would, like, get the sound. And we were like, this is the best because I hate doing sound. So if you find someone like that who's really into it, keep them around because they're a valuable resource to you.
David is the best boy I know.
Oh,
she always says that.
He is.
I had a mic that was attached to the camera, and it just sort of sat on top of it. And I got really intense about sound because if you took a step and the floor creaked, or if someone was standing too close to it and they were breathing, it picked up a lot of stuff.
That's the kind of stuff you have to listen for. Oh, yeah. If you don't know this, if you're new, don't just record audio. You have to have someone listening to it while you're filming. Like, you have to have somebody with headphones plugged into the mic listening to the audio.
Unless literally every single person on set is in the scene, which happened during Taj Wash.
In which case, then you can't. Yeah.
In which case, someone has to listen to it after the fact.
Yeah. But go back and listen to it after the fact, please. Because something will happen. There will be some siren that you didn't notice, or the air conditioner is really loud. That was the problem in my apartment. The air conditioner was really loud.
Welcome to Florida.
Or something rattled that you didn't notice. If you're a sound person, if you have a sound person, usually it's like either the director or whatever that's also doing sound at the same time. Don't be afraid to stop a shot because the sound is terrible. Like, if it's a really good take, just let them keep going for the practice. But if the take ends and something you heard was bad, say, you know what, we need to do another take because there was a siren, or because, like, pay attention to the sound while you're filming. And if you can have a special person just dedicated to paying attention to the sound, even better. But you can't always have that, so you just have to make the best of what you got.
Yeah, double up crew positions. Like, the sound person could also be doing script supervisor notes.
There you go.
If you have those extra people. And the lighting person can also be cinematographer if the lights don't have to move if they're stationary.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It depends on lighting is hard, guys. My recommendation is find a room with good natural lighting because lighting is hard.
Or if you want to do actual lights, find someone who knows what they're doing. Yeah, because you can tell, and I'm saying this as someone who did a show with bad lighting, you can tell when the lighting is a mess. And like I said, as long as you can see your people, it's not going to kill your show, but I mean,
it is distracting.
Everyone is yellow.
Everyone is yellow, but it's still a good show, so it's fine. What else? Oh yeah, I never dissed the guys from our school. I have to throw this in here because this is just quickly. I just wanted to go back to, it is important to have good production quality, but there were these people that they always had beautiful shots. It sounded great. The lighting was amazing. They had crazy good graphics, but they had the most boring story or the most basic story. And like, if you're watching something and it's gorgeous, but the story isn't there, no one's going to care about it. Like, and you're not going to care about it. You might watch it and say, wow, this looks awesome, but you're not going to care. So
certain Oscar-nominated films.
Yeah, well, there you go.
You gotta have heart.
Yeah, and good writing and good acting. And if you can't get good writing and good acting, I mean, we're also advocates for do bad stuff so that you can later do good stuff. But focus more on your writing and acting, and then focus on your lighting and stuff. If you can see everybody and you can hear everybody, it'll be okay at the end of the day.
Definitely.
Oh, you wrote, talk about our favorite episodes to film and why. That's cute.
I got into it when I was writing the outline.
Yay!
I mean, I think there are definitely, because filming's really fun. Filming is really, really fun. As much as we'll gripe about it, and I'm like the first person to gripe about filming.
I love complaining about it.
Because I filmed it.
Really hard.
It's hard. It's
so
a lot
hard.
of work.
It's so hard. We filmed like the over 100 episodes of The Better Strangers in a month, and we would film like 10 episodes on a Saturday and 5 episodes on like a weekend night.
That's so fast.
Sorry, in a weekday
Everyone
night.
Listening, don't think that you're going to be able to do that. That's crazy.
No. Like, don't follow. Like, I feel bad that I'm on this because like I did it in the worst way possible.
That's useful because you can say what not to do.
Yeah.
Like, I can say, don't plan a scene with a lot of extras because they will not
show up.
No one will show up. You won't be able to have extras. If you do have extras, they'll be terrible at acting. You won't be able to wrangle them to do what you want. Don't write a scene with extras. Don't write a party scene. Those party scenes in web series that you see, those people are amazing. I don't know how they pull it off.
Heavily edited.
Yeah. Don't write a party scene if you can help it, because it always is hard to film.
Yeah.
That's my little soapbox. Go back to what you were saying.
But yeah, filming's super fun. And so when I was filming The Better Strangers, you would start off with like a really good day and it would end in like the worst day ever. But it was good. Like there was what just came out was, I've already talked about the Blizzard enough. That's fine. But so recently this episode just came out with The Better Strangers. That's a water balloon fight.
Oh, yeah.
And it was super fun for me because, and I think everyone was like super mad at me because this was at like, it was kind of cold out and it was maybe like 10 a.m. on a Saturday or Sunday morning. And it was the only time the basketball courts I knew was going to be free. So we get everyone out and like we had to like fill up all the water balloons and we had to find like the right placement for the camera. And then we go down and we have this huge water balloon fight, which was super fun to film because it was just great. And then, and everyone just had like a really good time. And that was one of the moments where you're just like, oh, I love filming. And then like as the day went by, we did a lot more challenge videos like that. Like we did the obstacle course. And then eventually later on, we had to film the commentary that the characters Duke and Jackie have. And that's, like you filming group scenes when everyone's like in it and you have everyone do like a water balloon fight. Like that was so much fun. And
if you're lucky enough to get that many actors who will be into it, that's amazing. Like run with it.
The actors went above and beyond when they came to just coming in to film stuff. That was amazing.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of my favorite episodes to film. I mean, for Blair, I think some of the ones that were really fun, even though it was just like knocking it out, was when it was just me and just Megan, like her little monologues. Because we would just go into an empty classroom and she would just do it. Oh, and I wanted to say, if you're doing something that's like a monologue, you don't really have to do takes. You could just have them say it and then have them say it again and then you could cut it later. You don't have to cut every single time because that's going to make more audio syncing for you later. But just throwing that out there. But so those were fun because, we would just go through it. But probably the most fun was the one where I forced everyone to go on a road trip with me. I was like, guys, we're driving and then we're going to go to this park and run around. It was a little bit rushed because people had to leave. That's the other thing is, while that episode was fun, it was not as fun as I wanted it to be because you're still filming. So like, yes, I would get in my head, I would plan these episodes and I'd be like, this is going to be so much fun to film. And sometimes the ones that you think are going to be fun to film are not, but they still look good.
And the ones that you think aren't going to be fun are actually super fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Metaphor for life.
Although the one that we did where it was like the big fight and because we had like the sad day because my friend Bree was the best actor out of the Alexes, so I brought her to do all the like serious acting scenes. And so there was one day where she came in and we just did all the really serious episodes in a row. And that was a rough day of filming because my show was mostly lighthearted. It wasn't like Hamlet where there's people dying all over the place. But it was mostly lighthearted and fun. So that day was just like rough. And sometimes you have to take a break and like let people, because like you're not done with the show, but whatever. There's one part where Blair is yelling at Alex and being really mean to them. And spoiler. But Megan hated me on that day. She was like, I hate being mean to her. Like, this is the worst thing that you've ever had. And I just kept making her do it over and over because it was a hard scene. And so at the end of that, I was like, okay, let's just do a fun scene. Let's just do something light because we need to, like, take a break from all this, like, sadness and yelling at each other. So, yeah. But that goes back to scheduling. Never mind. I was going to say schedule not based on the order of your filming, but based on which actors you have available because it's not going to work out if you try to go in order. That never works out.
Yeah. Another great episode to film was in A Document of Madness. It's Words, episode 14, where basically it's the Polonius comes in and he says to Hamlet, what's going on with you and my daughter? And Hamlet's like, oh, I'm crazy. And but it was Polly who was Ophelia's twin sister, and Hamlet who was, just being like, get out of my room. What are you doing in my room? And sometimes it's really fun when that was our first day of filming A Document of Madness. And, they're both really good actors. So you have like these two actors come in and they have amazing chemistry, and it just sort of shocks you because they do these like really great, like different little things, and you're like, oh, whoa. And like you start realizing like how much potential you have. And that was such a funny episode to be in. Like, cause they were just like Xavier, who plays Hamlet, who I want to give a quick shout out to because he was the best actor I've ever met. He was just not only a good person at like acting, but he was also very prepared, and he was very responsible and professional. Anyway, he would never do one take the same, and he would always switch it up, and so you never knew what was coming. And it was best. It was the best thing because Kevin, who plays Polly, never knew what was coming. So Xavier would like try these different ways to act like a little off his rocker, and it was just, and sometimes it would just not end. Like it would end like it would just be so silly. You would just start laughing. Yeah. But the other times it like ended up being really good. So that was really fun to film. Anyway.
Yeah, I will say the entirety of Eddy Rex was fun to film.
That seems like it was fun to film.
We got really lucky in that my sister was graduated a dance minor at UCF, so she knows a lot of dancers, and a lot of the dancers are also music theater people. So Alaric, who plays Eddie, was a guy that she knew from the dance minor, and she just found him and was like, yeah, he's interested, he'll do it. And Lydia, who plays Cassie Joe, was another one of her friends from dance, so they sort of knew each other already. And then the original guy that we had to play Creepy Ian dropped like last minute, as they do, and so I was like desperately trying to find another Creepy Ian, and so we asked Alaric if he had any friends, and it was coming down to the wire, and at the end he's like, yeah, I found somebody, one of my friends said he would do it. So we're like, oh, okay, that's fine. Well, some of the stuff that they did, the two of them balancing off each other, was so good, and nobody would have done that if they didn't already know each other. It was just amazing. Like,
exactly.
When Eddie is like, why were you talking to him? And he like shoves him up against the wall. If we had just brought in some random Creepy Ian, I doubt Alaric would have just shoved him up against the wall. But because they already knew each other, they weren't afraid to do stuff like that.
Oh my God.
And like we told them at the beginning, just... when you luck into good actors, please enjoy it while you can, because it's so much fun. Like, we told Nick, who plays Creepy Ian, at the very beginning, we were like, yeah, Creepy Ian kind of has this, like, weird crush on Eddie that's never addressed. And he was like, oh yeah, I can go with that, for sure. And he just, like, played it up so much. We didn't notice until we were editing that in, like, the last scene with Eddie, he looks up at him and he mouths like, I love you to him, which we did not tell him to do, but it was so funny. And just different stuff like that. So like,
please tell Creepy Ian he's a favorite of mine.
Oh, he doesn't know I don't actually know him that well, but we just kind of brought him in. But I will, if I talk to him again, I'll be like, you have fans.
Yeah, if you ever see him, tell him you have a fan in Pennsylvania.
He's the tragic
Can I tell the story about
boy.
my mom? It's so funny. Yeah, he's the tragic white gay boy. We were making fun of web series that like have this gay character that they'll never address as being gay, and they're just there, and you're like, they're so clearly gay, just say it. Like, so that's what we did with Creepy, and we were just trying to make fun of a bunch of other web series. No, I just want to tell this really quickly, and you can leave it in or not, but the guy that played Creepy Ian also played Judd in Oklahoma, in the UCF production of Oklahoma, which is the creepy guy in Oklahoma. Yeah. But I was out of town that weekend, but my mom went to see it because one of our family friends was also in it. And so afterwards, she knew that the guy that played Creepy Ian had been in the show, but she got mixed up and picked the wrong person. So she walked up to a random stranger and said, hey, Creepy Ian. And he was like, what? Anyway, sorry, I just wanted to tell that story because it was so funny. And she's like, there's a web series. I don't know. He knows Alaric because Alaric was also in the show. And he was like, oh, okay. And he just kind of walked away. It was the funniest thing. But anyway, that was off topic.
Your poor mom.
My poor mom. Yeah, and then I was like, well, did you find the real Creepy Ian? And she's like, no, I was not approaching anyone else after that. It was great. But yeah, no, filming that was really fun. On the first day of shooting, Sara couldn't make it, but of course Sarah's face is on the baby. So they were
Comedy
like, why
gold.
does this baby just have a face? And we were like, it's our friend. She didn't have time to be in it, but she wanted to be the baby. And so then the second day she actually was there. And we were like, this is Sara. Her face is Ismini.
I'm the face of Ismini.
Comedy gold. I died when I found that out.
Yeah, anyway.
Yeah, nobody noticed, so I had to make, like, no one, like, was talking about it.
No one posted about it, and then Daisy was like, I noticed.
And I was like, but it is, I needed someone to acknowledge that I was the face of his meeting.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted.
It was beautiful. And, yeah, okay,
Crazy.
filming, this isn't really about filming, but it's a little bit about filming, is keeping stuff secret while you're filming, because you're always filming so far ahead of when you're going to air stuff. Not for Eddy Rex, but we had the ideas way far ahead of... I mean, we had the idea for Eddy Rex, like, last summer, and we had to keep it a secret for almost a full year. But
so hard for them.
We failed a lot of times. There were a lot of people who knew about it who weren't supposed to. But, yeah, no, like, when you're filming, it's really hard not to want to tweet about it and tell everybody what's going on, but you have to kind of keep some secrets. Like, don't tell everybody everything that you're doing, because I know that people have the tendency to be like, we're going to do behind-the-scenes stuff. I would have to tell Shannon, like, no, don't post this specific behind-the-scenes picture. It gives too much away, because you're more excited about it than other people are. Like, other people will be excited when they see the show, but while you're filming, no one else is going to understand why this behind-the-scenes picture is so great.
Yeah.
Because it has to do with your, like, save that stuff for later.
Yeah. And also, if you can, like, try to have your actors, like, try to keep it on the down low what they're doing.
Yeah.
Because I think in general, everyone did a really good job of that. But sometimes I would get these random texts from people from back in my old school who were like, so I heard about this. And I'm like, what? How'd you hear? Like, no! Like, don't post it on the internet. But yeah, in general, like... If you keep it on the down low, it's so much more fun that way.
It's so much more fun because everybody doesn't know what's coming. It's great.
And then when it shocks them, it totally shocks them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
So yeah, if you can keep secrets, that's always fun. We kept it a secret that Megan Blair was in Hamlet because we were like, she could be Laura, but we won't tell anybody. And then when she shows up, it'll just be like, oh. But stuff like that, if you just have little things that you can keep a secret, it's always more fun.
And that's my favorite thing is when you see like actors from previous web series in another web series. Like that's just like, I love noticing stuff like that. Like I always think that's cute.
Actor recycling is real.
Yeah. Yeah. If you got a good person, you reduce, reuse, recycle.
Yeah. Yep. All right. What did we not talk about? I mean, we didn't talk about, like, a set or anything, but, I mean...
I think so that's going to be covered in pre-production.
Okay, cool.
Like, finding locations.
Cool.
And casting's going to be covered just in actors.
God, the worst.
I like casting.
I would like it if I could actually do casting the way you're supposed to, like, have people audition and then choose, but it's usually begging certain friends to be in stuff.
I was really lucky. I was able to do a little bit of the casting. That's
fun.
Which is fun, but you're right. I mean, there's never enough guys. Like, I wrote too many parts for guys, so...
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, but yeah.
We lucked into Casey, who played Rachel.
Oh, she's a star.
Because originally we had it as Christy, who's Violet in Tajwash. And she's great. Like, she was doing great with it, but she had family conflicts and couldn't be in it anymore, so we had to recast. And originally I was so nervous about it. I'm like, it's not going to be the same, like, whatever. But then we found Casey on Backstage, and we met her, and we were like, oh my god, she's so good. And just the first day that she came in and was filming, because one of the first episodes that we did was the costume theater one. And she was just cracking me up, and I was like, oh my god, this girl's amazing. I'm so excited. And she killed it, and now we're like, we must cast her in everything. We love her.
Oh, she's great.
But, yeah, so sometimes you luck into actors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if I could reuse, since I'm transferring schools, I can't reuse actors anymore, which is such a shame, because there's some people I met who I'm just like, oh, you're so good.
Yeah.
So good.
Oh, this is sort of about filming. Since we're talking about actors that you can't reuse anymore, I was almost going to joke you could use them in a Skype call. Don't do a Skype call if you can avoid it, because it's always a mess. Like, sometimes you have to, because you just have to, but I've seen so many people try to make that work with long distance and Skype to varying degrees of success. And don't like have that as your first plan. Make that your absolute fallback plan, because
don't Skype in unless it's like, I mean, not even unless it's part of the show. Like, don't.
No, because it was
Skype
part of the
actors.
show for Hamlet, and we had us sitting in the same room.
Yeah.
That, like, the Skype episode where we Skype forward, he was sitting on the other side of the room, and we just had 2 cameras set up so that we could actually have the timing make sense. But
yeah, that seems like one of the hardest things to edit. Oh my god! Every time I see one of those, I'm just like, whoa.
Yeah. So I think people think it'll be easier because they're like, oh, I can have them in any location or whatever. It will not be easier. Do not delude yourself into thinking that it will be easier.
Yeah.
Because it will be harder.
Oof. When in doubt, it's usually harder than you think it is.
Yep. That's actually, I think that's the rule of filming. It will always take longer than you think it will. Mm-hmm. It will always be harder than you think it will. It will always take longer to set up than you think it will.
Yeah.
And you should always get more takes than you think you need. You will always start late. You will always end late.
Ugh. Yeah.
These are the inevitabilities of filming. You might have to trick your actors. I had to trick Megan at the beginning because she committed to the show, but she didn't really know what she was getting into. The amount. I'd be like, oh yeah, we're going to film on Tuesdays and Sundays and this and that. No, by the end of the semester, I was like, okay, I need you like every day.
I felt bad. I feel like I feel like I really pulled a fast one on the entire cast of The Better Strangers, especially Blake,
you have to.
Who I had cast when we were casting everyone in A Documented Madness. I had cast him as Orlando, and then he's like, okay, like, when are we doing this? And I'm like, oh, and this is back in like November. I'm like, in November 2015, and I'm like, oh, it'll just like I'll let you know when it happens. Flash forward to April and May 2016. That's when we finally filmed it. Like that, he was dedicated. I will give him that. Like, he stayed with us for all this. But I wouldn't have any other Orlando.
Yeah, he's so good.
Oh, he's great.
Perfect. And I remember in the beginning, because it is always kind of like when you watch a trailer for something, you're like, oh, look, another white boy. But he's great. We love him.
He was, Orlando was written to be a white boy, a white straight boy. Like, that was so important for Rose to just hate him on sight. For her, because the whole plot line is it's as you like it, but it comes from a little bit of a meaner edge where Rose basically catfishes the poor boy. And, and I'm trying to think if there's anything else with filming that I really want to like make sure people know about or just find out about. But I think, you will do what you have to do, and it'll be fine. It'll be fine. You'll figure it out. Like, half the stuff that we were talking about, I didn't do. And people don't hate it. Well, some people hate it, but like, so people don't. People seem to like The Better Strangers. Like, it's not awful.
Like it.
Yeah, it's not awful. Like, and I personally love everything that you guys do, but especially Eddy Rex. And like,
it's the greatest web series of all time.
Suck it, Lizzie Bennet Diaries. Like, we all know who's the real champ here.
Thank you.
Eddy Rex,
and yet you said your favorite was Nothing Much to Do. So
yeah, because that's Nothing Much to Do. When you realize,
I love Nothing Much to Do. It's great,
so good. But yeah, and then I recently, it's so funny because I think I keep on switching it up on what was my first literary inspired web series, because I'm now realizing it was actually Jules and Monty. If you remember that one.
Oh, like, you watched that before Lizzie Bennet?
Oh yeah, I've never even finished Lizzie Bennet.
What?
Yeah, I can't personally watch Lizzie Bennet Diaries. Like, I get halfway through and then something happens and I never finish it.
It's come so far from that. Like, it was good for a first one, but it's progressed so far from what that was that it's hard to go back to it, because a lot of the things that were tropes of that, of like, oh, I didn't realize I was still filming or whatever, they were the first people to do it, but now it's like everyone's tired of it. Yeah. No, the people who did Jules and Monty, they also did Pantheon University and Wavejacked. Everything they do is amazing.
Wavejacked is really cool.
Have you seen Wavejacked?
No.
Have you seen Pantheon University?
No.
Stop what you're doing. Get off of this podcast. Go watch both of those shows.
Okay.
No, they're amazing. But
I feel like behind the scenes are what helped me.
We're very
I feel like we're like
now.
totally like lost topic. So I'm gonna wrap this up. No, you're good. I'm gonna wrap this up, and then we can like make it a For Real Skis hangouts call to just chat and
just talk.
I remember one last thing that has to do with all this. I remember one last thing. So we've just discussed Jules and Monty and other stuff. Watching other people's behind the scenes actually helped me a lot. Like, I would pause it and I would actually look at what kind of camera they had. Like I would say this is good that the person who's listening to this, it's good that you're listening to this, and it's good that you're actually taking the time to do research and listening to behind the scenes and watching behind the scenes, because even though it can very easily be procrastination, it can actually help you out a lot because you can just start noticing everything that they do and writing it down. So kudos to you and good luck on making your web series.
Yay!
Oh, yeah, beautiful listener who is listening. The one of you who is like thinking of making a web series.
we know who it is. It's Adele. Hi.
Hey, baby. All right. Well, I want to thank everyone for listening who is listening. And I want to thank Nicole and Aubrey for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yay.
Yeah, it's so nice. Even though Nicole is on our couch every other weekend.
You love it. Don't lie.
I do love it. It's great. And now we have a new couch.
It's a great new couch.
For her to sleep on. And...
Okay.
yeah, Aubrey, you'll have to road trip down and sleep on our couch.
Well,
Yes, I told them you're going to be in road trip distance pretty soon.
I'm going to live in Savannah, Georgia soon, and you can put that on the internet. Like, I'm very excited, and I will be able to be... I will be in the South now.
Yeah.
Aubrey's going south.
Woo.
Woo!
Yes.
I'm very
Alrighty.
excited. I'm very excited.
All right, so we're good now. We're done.
Okay, well,
Thanks.
stop the recording, and then we can keep talking.
Oh, yeah, let me finish recording.